All right, we're going to give everybody a couple seconds to get connected here before we get rolling. Just want to confirm everybody can hear me okay. We had a couple audio issues last week. Took a couple extra minutes to try to make sure everything was set up just right. But we want to make sure that everybody is able to hear the program here. So let me bring it up and take a look at the comments before we get started, because that's what I did wrong last week. All right, here we go. Hello, Mark. Can you hear me okay? Just making sure. Let me see. 18 people in. Good morning, Alan. All right, 29 people. They're all getting here. Everybody's showing up. All right, so no one has said yet, hey, dummy, I can't hear you. So I'm assuming that I'm good to go. All right, so 5 by 5. Thank you, Dean. We did we did something this last week. We do it every year. And we always send our youngest technicians out to do the competitor analysis. The reason that we do the competitor analysis is, number one, we have a lot of great ideas at Schrock, but by no means do we have a monopoly on great ideas. And we want to make sure if our competitors are doing something really smart, that we see what they're doing and we emulate it. And we also, obviously, when we have the reason we send the younger techs is we have a very specific way of doing things. And to people who were not around when a problem happened, and we said, we never want that to happen again, so to make sure that never happens again, we're going to start doing this as our policy now. They weren't around for the problem. They just see the policy, and they don't necessarily understand why we have to do that way. Why is it we call a customer every 48 hours about their computer that is waiting for a decision on a part order, or a computer that is in the pickup area? Why is it that we call every 2 days? The reason we call every 2 days is, number one, if somebody makes a mistake and forgets to call when they drop it, the longest it'll sit down there is 48 hours before they get another follow-up call. Now, if there's no notes that they've ever been called, handwritten notes with initials and a date on the work order, that means it was never called, and you should call it right now. So those are systems that were put in place because we finished a computer. We put it in the pickup area. We grab the work order to call the customer. Then the phone rings. Then a customer comes in. Then we're selling a computer. And then somebody calls back and says, "Hey, I need to get my computer back today. Is it ready yet?" And all of a sudden, you just set that work order back down because you were so busy, and then you forget, and the customer never gets a call. And 2 weeks later, they're like, "You've had my computer for ever? Is it done? Have you even looked at it?" And customers get understandably upset. Especially when you say, "Oh yeah, it's been done for 2 weeks. And you could have come picked it up anyway. Why didn't you call me?" So that's why we have that rule, for example. They don't always understand that. So we send our youngest techs to do the competitor analysis so that they will see the mistakes that our competitors are making. And we can use those mistakes. And then we always say, what system do we have at Schrock that prevents that from happening here? And it just reiterates why that system is important. We use it as a training tool. Good morning, everybody. Audio nominal in Grand Island. Did you stop to refill your coffee? I was getting worried. No, last week I really shouldn't have done the show, guys. I shouldn't have been here. I was so sick. Even Parker, my operations manager, is like, "You seemed a little off." And I'm like, "Yeah, I could hardly breathe. It was awful. My nose was running. My head was throbbing the entire show. It was just a mess. So now I'm over whatever hellish cold that was. But I now have all the after effects. After you get better from a cold, I'm still congested. I'm still, coughing. Still just generally feeling not right. So, I took a couple minutes to cough my head off. You probably saw me muting the microphone and coughing. You could see me coughing, but you couldn't hear it. That's because I was trying to make sure that no one listening on the terrestrial radio could hear that stuff. But yeah, I didn't want to get on here and have a coughing fit. So I had one before, to get it out of the way. This is a professional radio right here, guys. Get the coughing fit out of the way. All right. So I'm not going to name the names of the competitors we went to. This isn't about bashing other companies. This isn't a, hey, look how good we are by look how bad they are. I call that a downward social comparison. Downward social comparisons can make you feel really good about yourself. And I'm not going to lie, we did chuckle a little bit at our monthly meeting about some of these things because it would never happen at Schrock that way. It would be like a terminable offense if stuff like that happened. But let me run it down for you. So we have 4 locations. So we grabbed 4 newest technicians and sent 4 computers to 4 competitors. In Lincoln, we sent the computer. We didn't have any really young technicians in Lincoln, so Eli took the computer over to a competitor who is probably in the top 3 computer repair shops in Lincoln. Took it in, basically broke a bunch of stuff on it. Broke the partition on the hard drive. So he deleted one of the system partitions, which will make the computer not boot. But the data partition was all there. All the files were there, right? So he turns around and he says, okay, I'm taking this in, takes it into this other company. They call him back. And, oh, by the way, the hard drive was also testing at 99% health. So it was a bad hard drive, right? But it was not showing symptoms yet. This is classic. So we take it into this company, and they come back after a couple days, and the technician that calls Eli back, I'm going to paraphrase Eli. Eli said, I agreed with everything he said, and I still wanted to punch him in the face. And Eli's not a violent guy. This guy was such an insufferable ass. I've fixed over 3,000 computers in my time. I know what I'm doing. If you do what I tell you to do, you're going to be just fine. Okay? So Eli's like, well, what's wrong with the computer? Not much. Just needs a clean installation of Windows, and it's good to go. In fact, we've already got it done over here for you. It'll be this much money. But I didn't. What about my files? The files were gone. They weren't. So you're just going to reinstall Windows on that hard drive? Yep, that's all we need to do. Trust me, I fixed over 3,000 computers. I know what I'm doing. Then you might know that the hard drive was bad. Did you test the hard drive? Eli knows. He's been around a while. Did you test the hard drive? Is it good? Did it fail for a reason? Nope, the hard drive is fine. They probably did a surface test on it, tested fine, because a smart test would have shown the hard drive had power interrupt problems in the past, which means it will inconsistently not work. So you can do a surface test and get a clean bill of health, but in the past, these power incidents lead to problems with the drive that will cause it to fail. If it loses power at the wrong time, you lose your files, you lose your operating system, it loses it in an update, then you're on the bench with a repair ticket. That's why it's a bad hard drive, okay? Missed the bad hard drive. Literally, so then Eli starts to have fun with him then. He goes, and he's doing like an old man voice. He's like, I think I'm just gonna get an all-in-one. I don't like these towers and stuff. All-in-one. Technician, you don't want to do that. I've fixed over 3,000. He just kept going back to it. I fixed over 3,000 computers. And let me tell you what, you don't want to do that. You got to trust me on this. I've got stuff here. They had a lot of used computers they were selling there. He wanted to sell them a used computer from them. I don't think they had any used all-in-ones, but, there you go. We would have recommended the same thing. All-in-ones are garbage. They're laptops on a stand with less upgradability. But some people, for some applications, that's what they want. So we don't argue with customers about what they want. If the customer tells us they want an all-in-one, we're not going to, it's a computer. It'll work. If it's in your kitchen and you don't want a tower and a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse and all this stuff on your kitchen counter, hey, I'm married, guys. My wife likes a clean kitchen counter. If she's going to put some kind of screen on it, she doesn't want a tower and a screen and a 3-piece speaker set and all this other garbage. She wants as clean and minimalist as you can possibly put on the counter. There's reasons people tell you they want things, right? So anyway, they charged us a diagnostic fee. It was like $60, $70, something like that you pay if you don't get the work done. And then going forward, the other thing the pricing was super sketchy. There wasn't a fixed price for things. So how much will it cost for me to fix this? Well, that depends how long it takes. So that was a little sketchy as well. Nobody likes to enter in a repair job without a defined cost, right? If you were fixing your car, you want to know how much it's going to cost before you fix it. If you were fixing your furnace or your air conditioner or pretty much any other major appliance in your home, if they told you the cost is what it'll cost and we'll let you know once it's fixed. Once we can't unfix it, we'll let you know. That dog ain't going to hunt. Not at Schrock anyway. So that was one of the big things there. That was our Lincoln competitor. In Omaha, we went to a company who has previously won #1 Best of Omaha. It was a different company than we went to last year. This company does a lot of things right. Back in the day, they used to send postcards after you got your computer fixed, just want to make sure your computer repair experience was awesome, your computer's working good. They don't send postcards anymore. This was maybe like 10 years ago. But they were really stepped up. They hired a consultant at one point to teach them how to get better Google reviews, which is why they have a perfect, or at least they had last time I looked, a perfect 5-star Google review. You know how hard it is to never make anybody ever upset? Sometimes you have to tell people things they don't want to hear, like, it's going to cost $1,000 to get your data back off this bad hard drive. And then they'll write a negative review. They're too expensive, but then they don't get it fixed anywhere else because everywhere else costs twice as much. So anyway, we went to this other place. Excuse me, see what I mean? And let me see, who took it there? I'm trying to think if I think it was Gabriel that took it there. No, it was Jeff. Jeff took it there. And so Jeff took it in. And this is the computer that's still sitting on their shelf. This is the computer that's still sitting right there. They had never called us once to tell us to come get it. So this one had they loaded Ubuntu on it, which will make it unique. They'll probably know who we are now because nobody brings in an Ubuntu computer for repair. But anyway, if you're running Linux, chances are you fix your own stuff. But we loaded Ubuntu on it, and the power supply fan had a rattle, and I think the hard drive, I don't know if I think the hard drive was, but literally everything was wrong with this computer. And then they went through and they literally tore capacitors off the motherboard. So they got a computer running and they said, oh, grab a pair of pliers, and they grabbed a capacitor and they went, yoink! And they were kind of shocked when it booted again. And it worked. It seemed to work fine. And they're like, really? So they did it again. Yoink! Did it 6 times. 6 capacitors. All these little wires sticking off the board where capacitors were in a row, and there's no capacitors there anymore, and the thing still boots. So finally after 6, they're like, whatever. If he inspects the motherboard, he's going to see the capacitors are missing because the wires are sticking out where the capacitors were at. Well, he didn't. That computer went in and out of that repair facility. Never once did he identify the fact that there was missing capacitors on the motherboard. Didn't even look at the motherboard. Missed the hard drive being bad, fixed the computer without asking permission first, then told us what it was going to cost to fix. Then Jeff told him, well, I'm not going to fix it. We're not going to fix it. Because, we're not going to give a repair job to our competitors. We're not going to pay them to fix it. That'd be silly, right? So he says, no, we're not going to fix it. And so that literally, they made up a story like, this is my grandma's computer. They found a bunch of cat pictures. They put a bunch of cat pictures in the pictures folder. The other day I went in the restroom there in Omaha and shut the door, and there was a picture of a cat taped on the back of the door, and I was wondering where that came from. Now I know. Somebody's research. I thought people were just wasting time. No, they were doing important Schrock Innovations market research with cat photos. And so there's my grandma's computer, whatever else, and they're like, no, we're just going to come pick it up. And they said, okay, no cost, or the diagnostic cost is like $75 or something. That's all you owe. There you go. The cost to repair the computer was going to be like $400. So anyway, we just never went in. Jeff just never picked it up. It's been like 3 weeks now, and they have never called once. Never once. In the service center, the guy at the counter, there was an older gentleman in the back, like maybe an owner or somebody. When I say older, I mean someone my age, like not young, not like what you would hire to do computer repair. In the back, probably the owner doing the repair work. And then up front, there was a slightly younger person, not a cult of personality, not really engaging in any way, just, doing their job, whatever. The cleanliness, I asked everybody, notice the cleanliness, notice the smells, notice, things that don't fit. None of the shops we went to had customized marketing, point of purchase marketing. Jeff said this place, he says, unless you count customized point of purchase marketing as somebody typed something in Word and printed it out and taped it on the wall. Because they did that for some things. They had a lot of used computers there they were selling. It was pretty much the whole front was used computers, and then they were fixing computers. So that was the Omaha location. The Papillion location, we went to a computer repair shop that is probably the smallest computer repair shop in Papillion. It is literally in a building that is the size of a generous she shed. It's at 2 bench spots, tiny little thing. but outsized marketing presence for its size of its company. This isn't the first time we've shopped them. There's not a lot of computer repair places in Sarpy County, so we're on repeats now after doing this every year. So we went in, and literally the guy did the exact same thing to us he did last time. So they took a computer in, bad hard drive, the usual stuff, bad fan in the power supply. The guy fixed everything. This is the only computer repair shop where the ticket was lower than what we would have charged. He fixed everything somehow for like 115 or 120 bucks. So power supply, a hard drive, a reinstall, like, wow, you're definitely a low-cost leader. So we dropped the computer off, and then we get a call a couple days later, and he says, "Good news, your computer is fixed. You can come get it." Well, what did you fix? We didn't authorize anything. We didn't tell you to fix anything, right? And he rattled off the list, and he goes, "But it's ready. You can come get it." So then while we're doing the meeting, we're sitting at First Watch, we're doing this meeting in Papillion, and then Parker, my operations manager, points at Trenton and says, "Trenton, now tell him what you did. You tell him what you did." And I'm like, "Oh God, what happened? What did he do?" He gets all sheepish. He goes, "I paid it." We're like, "Oh, Trenton, what's wrong with you, man? You didn't even, if you were a real customer, you didn't even authorize the work. You didn't tell them to do it. But you paid the bill anyway." How many other people paid the bill because they just did it? I think probably half the people would pay the bill. The other half the people would get really upset. And that was the point I made. Guys, just around the table right now, what will happen at Schrock if we do this? What would happen if something came in and we just did everything the customer needed? We upgraded them to 2.1H1. We did a maintenance checkup. We cleaned everything out. We did their Windows updates. We removed any malware that was there. We updated their antivirus to what they need to have. We installed a secure updater license. Woohoo! Great ticket, right? What happens when we call that customer and tell them it's a $400 ticket? And they didn't authorize anything. Maybe they came in for a new customer coupon. There was a free to try us out. And then they get hit with a $400 tab. Yeah, they're going to be a little upset about that, I think. Yeah. And the half that pay are going to be upset, but they're going to pay because they don't think they have a choice because they want their computer back. Don't think we got to worry about this guy long term, but he's been around for a few years now. Obviously, we've hit him twice. Probably the best competitor that we had was in West Des Moines. This was a company there that used to have roots in Omaha, actually. And so we went there, we took a computer in, similar thing, we removed a few capacitors from the motherboard, had a bad hard drive, had a power supply fan rattle, the usual problems that we see in the service center. We took it in, dropped it off, they charged a $100 diagnostic fee. They advertise on their website 24-hour computer repair. Immediately, Eli says, "That's crazy, they must be running a third shift?" Because nobody does that. We don't do that. Nobody does that. Nobody works all night on fixing computers. Imagine the volume you must have. You must be a beastly computer repair company if you got to work people through the night. Imagine trying to call people at 3 in the morning to get an authorization to do something. It just doesn't make sense, right? Well, they didn't mean 24 hours a day they fix computers. They meant we'll repair your computer in 24 hours or less. This is the one that removed the system partition, or another one. He removed some partition, left the data on the drive. Same thing. The way that they achieve 24-hour computer turnaround is everything is a backup, wipe, and install, but without the backup. It's a wipe and install. Every time it's a factory restore. You can factory restore your own computer, guys. If you wanted to factory restore the computer, I'm pretty sure you can call Dell or HP, and they'll walk you through it from India. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah, and it very rarely works. If you have a hardware problem, especially like a missing capacitor or a power supply fan with a rattle or a bad hard drive. So he goes through $100, and he was talking to a supervisor guy. It wasn't the guy he dropped off the computer with. It was clear that they had somebody who was responsible for sales, who maybe a commission salesperson. We don't know. And so this guy calls. He says it's base charge is $100, and we're going to do these other things. We got to do all this stuff to it. Never tells him the final price. Immediately, he didn't know to not push. So immediately he just says, "Nah, we're not going to do it." He says, "Okay, it's just $100." So then he goes into the shop to pick up the computer and goes to pay the $100, and the guy at the counter looks at it and he goes, oh man, he's charging you like the full diagnostic. He's charging you like a full repair hour. You didn't really get anything done, man. I'm just going to charge you the diagnostic hour, and cuts the bill by 60%. The front desk guy has the authority at that repair shop to cut a ticket by 60%. That's already been agreed to. Now, that's a good thing from a customer's perspective, right? From a business perspective, that's an issue. But from a customer's perspective, that's amazing customer service, right? You didn't really do anything with us. I'm not going to charge you this much money. So I'm going to give him a win for the customer service side of things, of making our technician feel like their technician was on our side. That was great. Kind of a surfer dude attitude, laid back guy, casual competence. Again, that's kind of what we strive for in the service centers. Laid back. We're not going to tell you how smart we are, or how many thousands of computers we fixed, or that we're a black belt in Taekwondo or anything like that. We're just going to tell you what's wrong with your computer and fix it. So this guy in West Des Moines cuts the price by 60%, takes the $40, and says, they start talking about stuff. And the guy was such a nice guy that my technician, the guy that I paid to fix computers in my service center, actually bought a couple things that he needed personally at this guy's store. I was like, Ryan, what are you doing, man? He goes, no, I needed the tools. I needed this. I needed that. And we talked for a half hour about this. The guy was really cool. I'm like, well, you know what? That's good to know. We have a really cool guy. If we can get past the, not collecting 60% of the sale thing, maybe we should hire him in truck. So anyway, it was all the way around lessons learned. We do so much more internally to try to ensure our customers receive a good experience. And I'm not bragging. I'm not sitting here trying to toot my own horn about this. All I'm saying is we have a lot of systems in place that have been put into place to ensure that people leave happy. Not everybody always leaves happy. It's impossible to please everybody all the time, unless you're this one shop that has a perfect 5-star review. Figure that. So anyway, so that lesson was learned, that we continue to be a service leader in what we're trying to do. There isn't somebody out there creeping up on us doing a way better job. And we have service improvements that we're implementing right now because we don't feel we're doing a good enough job communicating. We need to communicate better. You can never over-communicate. And so we're working on getting that communication level up through some automation so that we don't have to have extra staff on hand to do it. Staff's hard to find these days. We're hiring front desk positions, Omaha and Papillion now. So you can apply. Both positions are up on Indeed, and you can get an interview with Chris Parker and have yourself in a job tomorrow if you want to do so. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, so yeah, we're trying to automate as much as we can. So other lesson learned. Every single place except for the Des Moines location was more expensive than we were for the total repair. More expensive in some cases by a lot, a few $100s. More expensive in other cases by less, $30, $40. When did we become a low-cost leader and high-service provider? I learned in business school that you can be a low-cost leader like Walmart. You don't offer frills. You don't offer big sales and circulars and everything else, and you don't have all this fancy stuff going on, but you have low everyday prices. Or you can be Target, where your prices are higher, but you have an assortment of discounts and special offers and things that customers who are looking for lower prices can use. They can utilize their 5% red card or buy 3 boxes of diapers and get a $5 Target gift card to get discounts and deals to lower their prices to make it acceptable to them. Meanwhile, people like me that aren't going to do any of that walk in and pay a higher price if we want something that only Target has right now. So you can be a high service provider. Target is a lot fancier, a lot cleaner, a little more Target, if you will. Pottery Barn's another great example. High cost leader, high service provider. They'll come to your house and build your furniture. They'll come to your house and do a consultation and tell you what to buy from Pottery Barn to make your house look like a Pottery Barn catalog. They have consultants that'll come out and do that. Yes, you pay for that, but it's high service. If that's what you're looking for, that's where you go. You don't go to Nebraska Furniture Mart and ask one of the sales guys to come over for coffee and tell you what your living room needs to look like. At least I wouldn't imagine you do. The two can't exist in the same place. You can't be a high service provider and a low cost leader, Because if something goes wrong, if you're a low-cost leader, you can't lower your prices. You can't discount your way out of it. If something goes wrong, you can't step up your level of service to make it right. You're stuck. Which explains so many things. I mentioned that we once in a while have a customer that we just can't make happy. It doesn't seem to matter if we lower the price to them if they're unhappy. It doesn't seem to matter if we don't have a whole lot extra that we can offer. We'll come to your house, pick it up, bring it back. We'll do what we can do, but we already do so much that there's not a lot we can offer over and above what we already give. And so when we do encounter those people who just don't want to be happy, or in some cases where something goes wrong in our systems and we have to learn from it, and that's unfortunate, we don't like that to happen, but when that does happen, because it happens from time to time, it's very hard to fix, right? It's hard to make that right because there's nowhere to go. We haven't really raised our prices since 2008. Really, I think we may have raised our labor rate $5 an hour a couple years ago, actually, now that I think about it. From 110 to 115. But we give the first hour of labor for free, and most jobs get fixed in an hour or less. So that means we're literally, when you look at our average tickets, we are one of the cheapest places in town to get computers fixed. So it was an interesting introspective look at everything that happens in the local computer repair economy, how we are responding to that at Schrock, and how we're different. And it was a great educational opportunity for our youngins to see why we're different, how we're different, why we have what we have, why it's important to make sure those TVs are playing the Schrockaganda, as we call it. Because, yes, it's stuff that we all know. It's talking about you should make sure you have Sophos. You should make sure you have Secure Updater. But if a customer's standing at the counter, it gives them something to look at. Something to look at that reinforces our brand. It changes. It's a TV. It rotates. People watch it. We had an error on the screen, and there's a guy who comes into Papillion, and every time he comes in, the call letters, apparently when we made the video, the call letters for WHO were wrong. And all through the pandemic, not a lot of people were coming in, so it really was a low priority thing to fix. And then, of course, after the pandemic, we're getting our teeth kicked in the start of the year with business, to the point where I was literally working my tail off in the service center. And he came in and he literally roasted me. Thor, why is that not done? Why is that not fixed? I've told you about this twice now. And I was on the phone with one customer, and I had just gotten reamed from another customer because a part that we needed to get for their computer was back ordered and was going to take a month to get in, and there's nothing we could do about it. But we're the target, and she disassembled me like it was. You're lying to me now. You're lying to me. Oh no, I caught you in a lie, and I'm like, no, you told me you had a tracking number. Now you tell me you don't know where it's at. Because I have a tracking number, but when I enter the tracking number, the system, it's USPS. They're never reliable. I can tell you what USPS says. I'll send you the tracking number. No, you're just lying to me. Now, why would I believe anything you have to say? I mean, literally, it was that level of... I'm a business owner, too. I'm like, I'd hate to be a customer of yours. I mean, it was rough. So I get off that call, and then the guy's just barking at me up there. And in a moment of personal weakness, I looked at him, and I just said, it's not a huge priority to me right now. I'm working through some things here. I'll get to it, I promise you, but as far as priorities go, it's like down here. Not the most artful response. He responds with, "That's unacceptable," which, I was already hot from this other lady, and I was just like, I'm going to go take a break because I think I need some time and some space to decompress a little bit. I'll go sit in my truck in the 90-degree heat for a few minutes. I'll be back. But we fixed it. He was right. It is unacceptable. So we fixed it. He gave me the poke in the rear that I needed to get it done. Oh, by the way, we did not go to Best Buy. I see Aaron saying, cough, Best Buy. We did not go to Best Buy this time. So Best Buy has been one in the past. We did not go to Best Buy. Best Buy's pretty transparent about what they do, right? They have their rate card on the wall. They have a list of things they can do and a list of things they can't do. There's not a huge reason to shop them. People take their computers back there because that's where they bought their computers. That's one of the reasons we sell computers, is people tend to go back for service where they purchase their equipment. We don't make a lot of money selling computers, but we gain a customer potentially for life when they buy a computer from us. And so that's one of the reasons that we offer computers, which is one of the reasons we're super duper freaked out about the prices of these laptops and desktop parts going up so much. We're stockpiling as best we can, guys. During the pandemic, we got a little freaked out. We started hoarding recycles even, because we thought, well, things could get really, really junky. And if we can't get any parts and someone comes in and we need a fan and we can't order it anywhere, maybe we could find one in the boneyard that we could just patch them through with until we can get a new one. We're not quite at that point yet, but it's kind of scary. All right, let's jump into questions here. Did you stop to refill my coffee? Well, I only drank about a quarter of it so far. So, nope. Let's just say the coffee in the building is substandard to what I would like to drink. There's no coffee in the building on the weekend, so it's very substandard. All right, let's see here. Yeah, Aaron, I know I sounded bad last week. I wanted to push through because the previous week I was on vacation and it was a recorded show. I didn't want to do that to you guys 2 weeks in a row. It was important to me that I was here and that I was doing the show. That we paid to do each show, so it's really hard for me to open my wallet and write that check and then not show up. You know, it's like, Alrighty, let's see. Secret shoppers rock, yeah. You know, that's some of the things, you know, if you guys are ever interested in being a secret shopper, send Schrock Innovations a Facebook message on Facebook Messenger. And Parker, my operations manager, has access to those, and he'll take a look at it. He's always looking for secret shoppers. He's like, I'm kind of out of friends and family. I've had them all do it. But he'll have you do things like, you know, bring in a computer and say, were you offered Secure Updater? You don't have to buy it, but were you offered Secure Updater? And then, you know, he reimburses you for whatever you buy, that kind of thing. Now, of course, you know, if you come in and you say, yeah, I'll take everything, and, you know, it's like a $700 ticket, he's not going to turn around and give you $700, right? So it's basically, come on in. What do you want to get? You want to get a maintenance checkup? That's fine. Let me ask some questions about your computer. Let me do a quick Schrock desk and take a look at just kind of what we know the guys should offer you based on what your computer has. And it's an internal thing so that we know that they're offering the right solutions consistently to everybody. Number two, that we want to track communication. How long did it take to get a call about your computer status? How was the technician? Did he sound competent? Did he sound intelligent? Did he sound casual? Was he official? Was he like, I've fixed over 3,000 computers and you better listen to me, you stupid customer? You know, was he like that? Or was he like, you know, if it was my computer, this is what I would do. You don't have to do these things, but if it was mine, this is what I'm doing. This is what I would recommend. But if you can't do all of it, I would do it in this order. These are the most important things. These are the least important things. If we have to split the difference, split it over a couple months, this is how I would do it. It's all about solutions, all about information. So did you feel like you got that experience, or did you feel like, you know, you talked to some idiot kid who didn't know what they were doing? We had somebody throw us some Facebook shade the other day about having kids doing our tech support in Lincoln that suck. He bought a computer from us during the pandemic. Has had some issues with it, honestly, and I handed it off to my operations manager. I'm like, if he's had this many issues with a computer, just replace the damn thing. Just replace the whole thing. I don't want some guy floating around out there saying our computers are crap. Replace the whole computer. If he's had it in 3 times and he's still having problems, you know, the other side of this coin is that Eli's like, he has problems. And we never would tell a customer this, but the problems he has are because he's using the computer improperly. He's trying to do things. He's trying to make things work that shouldn't work. Ancient software, ancient hardware, things that are outdated that we told him wouldn't work, but he insists he is capable of making work. But while he tries to jimmy rig everything to work, he breaks a bunch of stuff. Then he complains to us that the computer's not working. So then we fix the computer. Once it's running again, he gets it back. He tries to jimmy rig everything again because surely he knows how to do it this time. And we have a nice cycle going. And we can look at the logs and we can see where he's trying to install things. Like, we see what he's doing. But our service rules won't let us tell a customer it's your fault that you are doing this. So we can say things like, we saw that some legacy hardware was detected. So somebody at some point tried to hook up a printer from 1992 for printing tickets. And that printer is not Windows 10 compatible, and there is no way to make it compatible. We can give you some options. I found some printers on Amazon, for example, that are compatible. We don't really sell these, but I can give you the links. If you want to purchase one of these, this will work just fine. You know, but that's never the solution the guy wants. So now, you know, he's going to go back to a Mac, and everything's going to be right with the world, and he has no idea about the story that I'm going to talk about how if you have an Intel-based Mac, you're a subclass citizen now. Apple is giving more in updates to M1 Macs than they are to Intel Macs. So there are features that you get in the Mac OS only on the M1 chip, not on the Intel chip. Yeah, it's getting rough. They want to make sure that people buy the new M1 Macs. So yeah, I mean, he's going to go drop $1,300, $1,500, $1,700 on a laptop or an iMac, and try to reinstall a bunch of PC equipment on the iMac because it's going to be compatible, even though it's from 1992 or something. You know, it's sometimes you just can't win, right? Okay, let's see. Aaron says, if I wanted to get a job in a computer repair shop, what kind of classes should I take first? And would I have to go to school for years before doing that, or can I take an online IT class? What would be needed to know? Okay, the first thing, Aaron, is go get an internship somewhere. Go work for free. I know it's not a great solution because people need to have money to eat stuff, but especially the smaller shops. Like, let me give you an example. Jeff, who works for us, he started at Elkhorn Computer Repair. And in Jeff's words, he said, they paid me in accordance with my age, not in accordance with my ability. These are the kind of kids we look for at Schrock. When we hire young guys like this, he may come out to the front and have like blue hair and an earring, but the kid is a wizard. The kid knows his stuff. He cares about people. He gets it done. And people like him once they get past the blue hair. He dyed his hair some other color now, like normal brown or something. But anyway, at Elkhorn Computer Repair, they had him moving 2x4s under a porch. That was what he did every day. And they paid him like, minimum wage, Within 6 months, he became a senior technician at Schrock. He's that good. They had no idea what they had because they never gave him a chance. They never gave him a shot. So that's the thing. Find a computer repair shop that'll let you intern there for free. Long story short, the summer's a bad time to try to do that because last week I think we were about 30% down on intake. 2 weeks ago we were 30% down. This previous week we were 50% down. So this is the slow season. It's going to go on pretty much until mid-July. That's a bad time to try to go out and intern anywhere. Take a look at August when back to school starts to hit. That's when things start to pick up again. Alrighty, you've been where I've gone for my computer stuff for 10 years, and I've had 2 issues over those 10 years. One was a fan issue that you made right very satisfactorily, and another was where I was having issues when booting. You probably had 10 hours of bench time to get it resolved, but you didn't charge me a dime for the trouble. I've been very satisfied with your service, and I'm still coming back. Your people are awesome. Thank you, John. I really appreciate that. One of the things I mentioned, we hired a new ace Russian hacker dude. He's not really Russian. He's Ukrainian. Now that's you don't call Ukrainians Russians, right? But he was born when the USSR was still the USSR in the Ukraine. He was a Russian, a Ruski. He immigrated to Canada and now he lives in San Jose, but he's helping us out with some SEO stuff because we couldn't find any local candidates that could do the job right. One of the things he explained to us is that Google reviews have velocity. So not only do you have to have 5-star reviews, and we've always asked you guys for 5-star reviews, but you not only have to have 5-star reviews, but you have to have them consistently. You have to keep getting them week after week after week, and they need to have proper keywords in them, like computer repair, laptop repair. So basically, gone from my computer stuff, 10 years issue. So basically what we'd probably do here is, instead of saying, I've gone from my computer stuff, I would say, I've gone from my computer repair for 10 years. One was a fan issue in a laptop repair that see how you put keywords in there. But John, if you have the time to do it, I would appreciate you dropping a Google review for whichever service center took good care of you. It means a lot to us. It really makes a huge difference in local search when people are trying to determine who to go to and Google is auto-selecting for them. Because a lot of you don't realize that, but who shows up in the map is Google's choice in the map pack. And that's the first thing everybody sees is that boop, 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 the top 3 or 4. And if some of it is geography based, if you're right next door to one of our competitors, that competitor is going to show up. But some of it is review based. And it's based on the number of reviews, the level of the reviews, the velocity of the reviews, and the key words in the review that are relevant to what you're looking for. Aaron says, I'm not a young person, not to age myself. My first computer was a TRS-80 Model 3. I know I was born in 76. You're not that much older than me. We've had people in their 60s work for us before. So it's not, we don't discriminate. The only thing is you got to be able to keep up. That's the biggest challenge we have sometimes. Annette, when she was working as a solutions consultant with us, she could keep up. She was just an amazing employee. We've had some other people that we've hired that were in a similar age group that really they just couldn't keep up on the front desk, or they couldn't keep up with the speed or the level of work. Whereas the level of work is not that hard. We've all had that situation, right, where you have that one person who comes in and they're just not a right fit for the job. The job is easy. The front desk job is actually pretty easy. You sit there 75% of the time looking for something to do. Because, we check in 5 or 10 computers a day. Takes 2-3 minutes to check in a computer. You're there for 8 hours, right? So some shipping, some receiving, answering emails, returning voicemails. Okay, so now you're halfway through your day. Go to lunch. Yay. Then, you're responsible for the cleanliness of the service center. You're going to make sure the front's all dusted and the floors are clean and the bathroom's clean and everybody who would come in would have a good experience in the service center. Then, of course, we do try to find someone who has a slight parental vibe for the front desk, because we employ a lot of young guys and they're not the cleanest people. Sometimes they're downright filthy. And they'll leave cups laying around and food laying around and napkins everywhere. And I might use these food coupons someday, even though they're 2 months expired. We need somebody who can walk into the back and be like, this ain't your bedroom. You want to keep your coupons? Let's create a place for the coupons, right? So it's organizational needs, things like that. That's a part of the job too. Alrighty, let's see. In my experience, Schrock does an excellent job taking the time to compare your service with other computer places, speaks to striving for excellence. Well, we try to, and like I said, we did chuckle a little bit when stuff is wrong, right? It wasn't all, beautiful, like, we can learn from this, but we can learn just as much from other companies' failings as we can from successes. Aaron and I had a TRS 80 Model 1, Model 100, and a Model 600. Keith says. Keith has no fear of aging himself at all. All right, so that was the competitor review. To hit on Bitcoin real quick. You heard the news possibly this week that El Salvador it passed. They made Bitcoin legal tender as the president looks to volcanoes to mine crypto. So, okay, whatever this president. El Salvador, and the reason I caught my eye, number one, is it was a Bitcoin story. Number two, all 3 of my children are adopted. And my son Lou, my youngest, his birth parents were El Salvadorian immigrants. So, I try to keep up on what's going on there so that I can have a connection to that culture a little bit, as much as I can anyway. Wouldn't want to appropriate it or anything, But can he appropriate it? Is it his, or is he American, or what? I don't understand. Anyway, so long story short, what they did is they announced at a Bitcoin conference that they were going to make Bitcoin an official currency of the country. Right now, El Salvador uses the U.S. dollar. They're also going to keep the U.S. dollar but put Bitcoin side by side with it. This does a few interesting things. Number one, if Bitcoin is an official currency in a country, that means every place is going to be expected to accept Bitcoin as a payment, because it's an official currency of the country. When you make a currency your official currency, you accept dollars, you accept rubles, you accept yuan, you accept Canadian dollars. You get the idea. Pesos, you accept them. So that means businesses are going to have to accept Bitcoin in El Salvador. Now, the El Salvadorian economy isn't exactly rip-roaring, if you know what I mean. But having an enclave of people who are all aware of what Bitcoin is and how it works and how it can be a store of value and transactional value is going to attract blockchain businesses. And that's what this was about, is attracting blockchain businesses to come in to create employment opportunities, to give Salvadorian youth jobs, to build the education system. This was a brilliant move. Now, it's not going to solve the country's problems, right? But it is a brilliant, brilliant move and a step in the right direction. It does some other interesting things too. So, if you trade currencies, you're called an FX trader. If Bitcoin is an official currency of El Salvador, can you trade dollars for Bitcoin in the FX market now? Does Bitcoin suddenly have a place at the table among currencies? Or is it still considered a commodity by U.S. tax law? Is this the first step in the de-dollarization of El Salvador? And I'm really torn by this, because on one hand, Bitcoin represents monetary freedom. Your money can't be inflated away. It will forever retain its purchasing power. In fact, it may gain purchasing power as people lose their Bitcoin or do whatever. There will never be more than the X number of Bitcoin that are created. And everyone says, well, they can change that any time. Well, who's they? They to change it. So there's news on Bitcoin. Something called Taproot is going through. And I'm not going to bore you with all the different technical things, but there's basically two cryptocurrencies, if you're an investor in crypto, that you want to have in your portfolio. Two main ones, Bitcoin and Ethereum. I read a great article the other day, and I don't know that it's true, but it was really interesting read, that Bitcoin is kind of like the bond market. It's where you go to preserve value. And Ethereum is kind of like the stock market. That's where you go to speculate and to make your money work for you. Okay. I don't know if that's true or not, but that means what he's setting up is that eventually, as things normalize, we may see an inverse relationship where Bitcoin goes up and Ethereum goes down. So you want to have a little bit of both in your portfolio, was his point. The difference is Ethereum can do what are called smart contracts. So you can take Ethereum and you can, through the magic of the blockchain, use the Ethereum coin to build other systems. And you have to have Ethereum in your wallet to make the systems work. And if you want to use the systems, you have to have Ethereum in your wallet to use the systems. So it requires the coin. It's a use case for the coin. The systems in place, there are very important systems. If you have a BlockFi account, for example, you're seeing distributed finance. That's the number one thing that Ethereum is used for right now. That and script kitties back in the day. Cat game. But long story short, Taproot for Bitcoin was approved by 90% of the miners. That was the threshold. So people who create the Bitcoin voted to install the Taproot update to Bitcoin. It'll hit in November. When it hits, it's not going to change anything on day one, but what it does is it adds smart contract tools to Bitcoin. If that takes off, Ethereum's use case is still there, but now they have a competitor in Bitcoin because you can do the same smart contract stuff with Bitcoin, potentially at a lower cost, and have the safety of a bond-like investment. Now, anybody watching this right now is like, Thor, Bitcoin is down 50% in the last month. I wouldn't exactly call that a safe investment. You would be correct in that assessment. The volatility in the cryptocurrency market is unlike anything you've ever experienced in the bond market, unlike anything you've ever seen in the stock market. It's also completely normal for the crypto market right now. It's a very young market. Bitcoin's only 10 years old this month. So having a 50% pullback, it happens like every 2 years. And then right now, I mean, I'm not a chart maven, guys. I'm not a stock broker or crypto broker, but I'm seeing a triangle formation happening where the highs are getting narrower and the lows are getting higher. So it's coming together to a point. And typically when that happens on the chart, there's going to be a breakout in one direction or the other. It's going to break higher or it's going to break lower. If it breaks lower, it's going to break into the 20,000s range. And if it does that, I'm going to buy even more because I believe that Bitcoin could be worth as much as $100,000 by the end of the year because of the fundamentals behind the coin. That hasn't changed. This is called FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. When you hear Janet Yellen, cryptocurrency is a scam used by Russian hackers. Even if that's true, it was true yesterday. It's true today. Bitcoin was 60 grand yesterday. Why is it not today? If it's true, but it's not. But okay. China's going to outlaw Bitcoin. Oh, China said that 6 times before, and it's never true. And when you look at it, sure enough, they're not putting people in jail for mining cryptocurrencies. They're cracking down on money laundering, which is a good thing. We don't want money launderers on the Bitcoin network. Now, whether or not they're actually money launderers or not in China, we don't know. They could just be political people that they don't like. I don't know. So I believe that cryptocurrency, Bitcoin especially, Ethereum especially, is going to be worth more at the end of the year than it is now. So if it drops it down to 20,000 in the meantime, I don't care. It's going to come back up because we're dealing with the very basic law of supply and demand. The supply is fixed. And everyone says, well, the demand, the price is going down. The demand is down, down, down. If you look at the blockchain outflows, meaning who's buying crypto, everyone, oh yeah, all the major banks are talking it down. Oh, this is a crap stuff. You don't want to be a part of this. We are advising people not to be a part of it. Meanwhile, their trading desks are buying it hand over fist on sale. Don't listen to what they do or what they say. Watch what they do. They're buying Bitcoin. All the institutional players are buying at these prices. This is a half off sale on Bitcoin. And if it goes to a 75% off sale, you should just buy more. That's me. That's what I'm going to do. So you might be different than me. You might be a better investor than me. But when it goes up to 60,000, I'm still probably not going to sell it. Because I was talking to a buddy of mine. And I said, I was standing in my kitchen yesterday. And I thought to myself, I wonder if someday my grandchildren are going to say something like, Grandpa had a Bitcoin mine back when you could still mine a Bitcoin. Are we living through one of those transitory times in history? Are we moving from the old monetary system to Bretton Woods, for example? Are we at Nixon closing the gold window here? We can all agree that in the fiat system right now, stuff be crazy. Like, it doesn't feel right. So it feels flimsy. It feels fake. It feels like if everyone continues to play along, everything will be just fine. But all it takes is a few people to stop playing along. They don't even have to be major players. What happens if all of a sudden you can invest your money in El Salvador and get a 20, 50, 100% return because you're holding the money in Bitcoin, which is a legal currency in El Salvador that is taxed as money, not as property, not as a stock certificate. It's taxed as money. It's income. Interest income. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. But nobody wants to do it because if you do that, you risk de-dollarization, and that's where I'm torn. If we go through a de-dollarization phase, it is going to be incredibly painful for this country. Like end times painful. There's no paying back the amount of money we've borrowed. We'd have to inflate out of it. We'd have to have hyperinflation, like ridiculous hyperinflation, like add a few zeros to the end of a dollar bill inflation. We would have to, you got China and Russia that are trying to exit the SWIFT system, which is the banking system that unifies the world. If they create a competing system and El Salvador decides they want to be a piece of that, and the U.S. says, El Salvador, my peeps, if you don't play ball, we're going to kick you out of the SWIFT system too. Because that's how this works, right? I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you play by the rules. You don't fight the Fed and everybody stays happy. You fight the Fed, there's going to be pain. That's kind of how this works. But El Salvador can take the pain now because they have an alternate currency established. They can walk away from the dollar and have no ill impact because people will give them dollars for Bitcoin no matter what sanctions are in place. They can move the Bitcoin across borders without tracking. Literally, it is freedom money. If Bitcoin becomes currency, the United States loses its economic control over the world. That's why I'm torn. I want to see it happen. Not the loss of control, but Bitcoin becoming currency. Because I like people being able to build their own wealth as opposed to having it stolen from them through inflation. I like that. But on the other hand, the price of that is a complete destruction of the existing system. So what we need to have, which I don't see any right now, we need some thinkers, please, that are going to make some smart decisions like maybe we peg the dollar to the Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin's supply is inflationary until like 2080 or something like that. So that buys us another 60 years to figure this stuff out. And if we did something like that, we tied the dollar to a Bitcoin, the U.S. government right now could kick that off by printing as much money as they want to print to buy the flippin' Bitcoin. Maybe they're doing it on sale right now. Maybe the Fed is talking down Bitcoin because they're acquiring it. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying. Nixon Nixon closed the gold window and you had made it illegal to own gold. You had to sell your gold to the government at a fixed price. And if you got caught with gold, you went to prison. Of course, gold chains and rings and things were fine. We're talking about, and numismatic gold was fine, like historical gold coins. But if you had bullion gold coins and you got caught with those, jail, buddy. You can't have that. The government owns the gold game. So that's how they secured the currency until Nixon closed the gold window and said you can't have gold anymore. So anyway, with all that said, it's scary, it's exciting. We're either living in the world's most epic bubble ever, of the everything bubble, and, you know, it'll pop at some point, or we're living in a transitionary time when people who understand the playing field around them can amass a fortune that later on will make them look like a king or take care of their family for generations. We're talking generational wealth. You know how the Kennedys made their money, right? How the Kennedys became the Kennedys? Joseph Kennedy was a bootlegger during Prohibition. He was boating whiskey back and forth, or not back and forth because it was all coming from Canada. He was bringing whiskey into the U.S. from Canada. He was breaking the law at a profit, building a distribution network, and then when Prohibition was repealed, he already had a network in place. He already had distributors lined up. He was so far ahead of everybody else. Cash the checks. Invest in the stock market. Then there's a story where, I don't know if this is true or not, it's one of those things you hear about in fiction or whatever, or in lore, that he had a shoe shine boy shining his shoes. And he said, Mr. Kennedy, I heard a great stock tip the other day where you could get a lot of return if you bought this, that, or that. If you bought AMC right now, it's going to be diamond hands, buddy. You know, and his response was, the day that my shoe shine boy is giving me stock tips is the day I'm out. And so right before the crash, he got all of his money out of the market. Kept his fortune. I don't know if that's true or not. Could be one of those lore, the things that's invented over time. But if it is true, I mean, it's, you know, the guy saw opportunity. Yeah, you could question whether or not he should have broken the law. Give you that one. But he saw opportunity. He saw a business opportunity, and when it did become legal, he had already set himself up to capitalize on that opportunity, because it was like legislation. You saw it coming, right? You know, they repealed an amendment to the Constitution, so you know it was coming. And then afterward, he tended that fortune responsibly and created generational wealth for his family. Are you going to have the same opportunity with crypto? I mean, I wouldn't put my whole retirement account into it or anything crazy, but let's just say that I have a significant portion of my retirement in it. I'm young enough, I can still take a couple risks, right? All right, last call for questions, guys. Then we got to get rolling out of here. Okay, let's see. Scrolling up. In my experience, got that one. There we go. I remember using a tape player to load stuff on the computer. Oh, yeah, I had a Commodore VIC-20 where I had to do that. America's the Weimar Republic right now. It's going to really hurt when things go apocalyptic. You know, and that's the thing. As long as everyone plays the game, Aaron, it's not. Because in order for you to get Weimar Republic stupid, you have to have a cleaner shirt. So if you are the least dirty shirt, you win. So you can be a filthy, filthy shirt. And if we print a bunch of money, and France prints a bunch of money, and Canada prints a bunch of money, and the Switzerland prints a bunch of money, and everybody, China and Russia, and everybody print a bunch of money, if the ratios are the same, what's changed? Prices go up, we have inflation, we can inflate away all this debt we have, and we can try to get a great reset going on. But all it takes are a few players to not play along. And if that happens, you're going to have a war. Because you can't upset this apple cart. Because you're absolutely right, it will go apocalyptic if the apple cart gets upset. Did the shoe shine boy hear a call for help turned into an underdog? What? Did the shoe shine boy hear a call for help and turn into underdog? Oh, okay. Got it. I don't think so. All right, guys. Got to wrap it up. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for sticking with us. I hope that it was informative and entertaining for you. Some other stories that we didn't get to. I talked about JBS paid $11 million. Oh, yeah. Apple users. Heads up on your iPhones and your iPads. iOS 15 is coming out, and for the first time ever, you will have a choice. Do you want to go with iOS 15 with all of the latest and greatest features and updates, or do you want to stay on iOS 14.6, which will get security updates but no new features? So this is important. If you have an old iPhone, you stay on 14.6. If you have a new iPhone, you go to 15. So there you go. But for the first time ever, Apple's giving you the choice as to whether or not you want to do that. All right, guys, have a wonderful week. I hope everybody is feeling great, getting their vitamin D out there in the sun and staying cool when they need to. Again, if you do have any of those maintenance certificates you want to burn, or you're having a problem with your computer, right now is an excellent time to bring it into the service center. The turnaround times are phenomenal, and service experiences are great right now because we're about 50% capacity. It'll be this way for another week or two, and then we'll start to see the upswing. Based on the callers on the show today, a lot more people are home than were last week. So we're starting to probably see that upswing happening already. All right, guys, talk to you next weekend. Have a great week. Thanks for listening.